Need high-quality video to promote your event, business, or band? We can help.
We're Pixel Pond, a video production team based in the Pacific Northwest, providing high-quality content to clients across the U.S. and Canada.
Whether you want coverage of your live event to promote for next year, or need a camera and a camera operator for your next big project, we can accommodate projects of all sizes.
Your story is important. Visit pixelpondllc.com or send an email to info@pixelpondllc.com to get started today. We can't wait to work with you.
Coming up on Gamers Week podcast. All right, next up, Nintendo announced some new hardware today. And no, it's not the Switch 2. Alarmo features motion sensor technology that responds to your movements, letting you snooze your alarm with motion alone and stop it by getting out of bed. I'm sorry.
The best part about this is exactly what you're thinking. Every time you roll over, it makes a little coin sound.
Oh my God,
so you
no.
can just imagine it going ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
During what, Blue? What would happen? What would prompt it to go ka-ching, ka-ching?
You know, just hypothetically.
We went to the grocery store tonight, all of us, and we're kind of on our way back, and the two boys are in the back seat, and they're kind of talking. And Aiden, my youngest, he's telling his brother something. He's like, "There's this meme going around where like this guy is saying," and I go, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, just this meme that's been going around." "Oh, okay, what is it?" What is it?" "Well, it's this guy. He says that if she doesn't hawk to her, then I don't talk to her." "Do you know what that means?" And he's like, basically, he wants her to suck on his balls." And I'm like, I heard suck on his, and I'm like, oh God, what word is going to come out of his mouth? And he says balls. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, you're not technically wrong, but I'm not going to correct you in this instance.
You're not 100% right, but you're not 100% wrong. See, I was thinking like I'm talking to my sisters and we'd do like an inside joke of a meme. And then my parents would be like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
You don't want to know.
Yes, I do. What does that mean? Nothing. Don't worry about it, Dad.
It's like, Dad, does Mom ever hawk to her?
That's why I married her.
He's like, well, when she doesn't, then I don't talk to her. So
Then I don't talk to her.
The 11th commandment.
Yep.
Thou shalt hawk to her, or thou shalt not get talked to her, I guess.
Tell you what, if your grandma doesn't hawk to her, I don't talk to her. How's it going, everybody? There we are. Look at us. Who would have thought? Welcome to Gamers Week podcast, and like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 136, and today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. My name is donniegretro, and I will be your host this evening, but I am not alone, as you can see. My first co-host thinks that a destroyed box is a good thing. And we're talking about video game boxes, people, you perverts. Ladies and gentlemen, Writer's View, a.k.a. Blue Williams. Blue, how are you doing this evening?
I feel like the context to that was really important.
It is very important. And if you would like to become a patron and check out our Gamers Week Uncut episodes, you can hear why this joke is relevant this evening.
I mean, you guys were talking about being like shredded and stuffed and destroyed and like all that kind of stuff. And I'm just sitting there going,
You know,
that doesn't sound entirely bad.
And my second co-host, when it's time for him to turn the lights down low and get to the horizontal dancing, he turns on the Wii for a little mood music. Do, 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 do. Mr. Retro Game Brews, a.k.a. Ryan Payne. Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well, enjoying the motion controls, if you know what I mean.
Now, if you had a CD that you played while your lovemaking was going on, would this be just like a different version, a different rendition of the Wii music for every single track? Like the same beat, but more like with a harpsichord going on or something, or a flute or waves crashing or something like that?
I think you just described what we should do for our patron-only Christmas gift.
See, I was going to say, it's the Wii music played with like Kenny G saxophone style.
The only saxophone I get down with is Careless Whisper. So if we can do it that route.
Yeah. That'll make me take this clothes off every time.
And Sam Disfaction said, is it just me or does Ryan look like an alternative Donnie skin with a hoodie and a cap?
I feel offended.
Why?
I am so much prettier than this man.
All right, Braveheart.
We need to do a poll in the Twitch chat. Who's prettier?
Oh,
Ryan or Donnie?
We're all pretty.
I don't want to know the outcome of that, one way or the other.
All right, I think you're both very, very pretty.
We're both pretty. Moving on.
Yep, everyone's pretty.
All right, let's just jump right into our reviews, reactions, and requests this week. At Thunderdome Game 1 says an Xbox handheld would be a day one buy, especially with most of their first-party games being play anywhere. Also, with the rumor of Steam integration, this would be amazing. I think you're on the right track. I don't think I'd run out and buy it day one, but the fact that I could play the entire Xbox library, if possible, anywhere on the go, on the plane, on the toilet, while I vote for whoever, and Steam, you can integrate my Steam library. I'm definitely buying that.
I would maybe be open to buying it day one, depending on the scalper situation.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to wait and see what that's like.
At Clayman71 says, Writer's View doing God's work with that RGB introduction about not playing Bloodborne.
God's work.
You're welcome, Clayman. Somebody's got to do it.
And at RedOxPDX says, I've debated posting this several times, but the plushy stiffy joke is actually no joke. Back in 2019 PRGE, there was an entire booth of plush. Well, you get the idea. No, I don't have a photo, but I'm sure Google does. And actually, there is a photo in the Discord.
Yep.
I was there. Gandalf, I was there. I witnessed it.
Davey PGH posted the photo in the Discord, the stuffy stiffy, holding it on his forehead because of reasons, I guess. and then took that picture that way. So it made him an actual dickhead.
Oh, and he's in the chat tonight.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Love you, Davey.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our patron shout-outs.
All right, we couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Fruitcakes Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, Absolutely the Best Podcast, Wizard of Zardoz, Bobson Dugnut, Blues Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retro Blast Pat, BNT Zillaguy, Already Missing Donnie's Luscious Lips, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven San, Ramboski, Terry Canal, Terry Canair. That's that was a tongue slip. There we go.
Yeah, it's not like he hasn't been our patron for months.
A-Gill 2020. Don't make me pull this car over. Sir Coffee of House Blend, first of his name. Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me. Davey PGH, the Pixel Pond family, including Shannon and Luke. Zach, huge thanks. Number one, Blue Sick Boys fan, John Baran. Sony with the Smashing Pumpkins. Evil Us, Rai secret best friend. Mega Retroman, Gamma Troid, Maro Deeb, Michael LeKite, Emo S, Bill Tucker, and the Real Retro Game Brewers. If you like what you hear today, we really hope that you do. Please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the costs of producing the show, as well as cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patron with benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
Yeah, TKN85 in the chat says, I'm going to need my $5 back. I told him I'm going to take it from your cut, Ryan.
Oh, okay. Appreciate that.
Nope, you get store credit. We don't give refunds. Store credit.
Store credit.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our headlines for the week.
All right, this headline segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they want to know, have you ever experienced the Mandela effect while gaming? Send your answers to email at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. I had to think a long time about this one. I think the most common Mandela effect is that Pikachu had a black tip on his tail, which everybody seems to think, but it was apparently never true. I couldn't think of anything like a personal experience. There's a fine line, I think, between like a Mandela effect for gaming and then just those playground rumors that were everywhere.
Yeah, there were lies abound in the 90s. I remember you guys are telling you guys that, I would tell people like, oh, I fought Shenlong, or I was able to get to Shenlong because it was something that was posted in an April Fool's thing. But realistically, I don't think I can remember any type of Mandela effect where like I played a game, I knew for sure that this is exactly what happened because I played it, and then coming back and looking at later video gameplay or something like that, somebody's like, oh, do you remember this? Oh, because it didn't freaking happen. I don't think I've experienced that with video games. I've experienced that with movies, but not video games.
I've experienced it with books and stuff. Like I remember it was always the Berenstein Bears growing up, reading that book. And then if you look at the spelling, it's Berenstain. Like that one blew my freaking mind.
No, I maintain that aliens came down, took all the books from our childhood and replaced them. That is the most logical explanation to me.
Because I remember Berenstein Bears.
Right. And that's how everyone said it, right?
Yeah.
That was the pronunciation, but apparently not. We were all lied to.
Seven Castle Forest says, I remember all kinds of nonsense rumors about Mortal Kombat 2, in part because the game actually included so much crazy hidden stuff.
Yeah, with Noob Saibot and Smoke and stuff.
Davey PGH says the whole Aerith Eris thing getting me is as close as it comes for me.
I never named her that anyway. I always changed the name, so it didn't matter to me.
To Shish Kebab.
Oh, that, you know.
Ooh.
Sorry, too soon.
I love that.
That's skewered.
27 years later or whatever it is.
All right, first up on this week's headlines, Ubisoft has acknowledged the validity of a report by Bloomberg claiming that the company is considering leaving the world of public trading to seek shelter and stability under Tencent, the Chinese conglomerate that already owns around 10% of Ubisoft. It's no secret that Ubisoft hasn't been doing well as of late, thanks to a long string of underperforming titles like Skull and Bones, Star Wars Outlaws, X-Defiant, and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. The company's stocks have dropped 54% in value this year, and investors have reportedly been pressuring the company to go private to help flip this downward trend. Tencent, which generates billions of dollars in revenue every year, is now aggressively seeking to own majority or even controlling stakes in overseas targets, notably in gaming assets in Europe, according to 4 people with direct knowledge of the matter speaking to Reuters. My question is, what happens to those people who have money invested in that public company once it goes private? Do they get their money back? Or do they still hold shares in the company as like maybe further down the road it will go public again?
I think if a company sells with a merger that they typically arrange something, I think. Actually, you know what? I'm talking on my ass completely on that one. I'm not 100% sure.
Who knows? But if it's a private company, we'll likely never know the terms of the contract.
Right.
Correct.
Satisfaction says, how can you make Ubisoft even worse? Selling it to Tencent.
I just don't trust Tencent with anything. And I mean, granted, they already own 10% of Ubisoft, so maybe that's why it sucks right now. But they haven't had the best reputation in general. as a company. And
like Ubisoft has.
no, fair. Well, I mean, go back though. Ubisoft used to be.
It used to be legit. Had to totally legit.
Put on the nostalgia glasses. It's like Acclaim and Konami and like all those, pillars of gaming.
LJN.
Yeah, pillars. Absolute
Depends
pillars.
on your opinion. So yeah, it concerns me to see that Tencent would have access to those properties, though. I mean, if you think about it, they would have access to their backlog. So what are they going to do with those? And yeah, they've made some huge blunders. This Star Wars Outlaws thing that I think they thought was going to save the company, and it was the exact opposite. I think what people are looking for. It's like it's an open world Star Wars game, but there's like a crap ton of stealth in it. So we don't really know how to make a game besides Assassin's Creed. So anytime we don't know what we do, we just kind of run back to the old formula, if you will. I get that, but still, like Assassin's Creed, I'm concerned about what that looks like for the future if Tencent owns that.
Well, it's been an interesting response to this online. I think a lot of people just in general are cautious or outright afraid of a company like this going to Tencent, which is a Chinese company. They're like, oh, it'll be terrible for gaming. They're only going to be interested in profit. They're only going to want to do the hard-hitting, high money-making, like online microtransactions bullshit. But when I hear that, I'm like, isn't that what most AAA companies want to do anyway? I mean, on the one hand, it's like you're mourning one of the last pillars, since that's the word of the day, one of the last pillars of AAA single player gaming, which is true. Ubisoft still does put out those games. But as you can see by this list, they ain't doing that well. So eventually, Ubisoft is going to stop making them, whether it's under Tencent or not. Even the Assassin's Creeds don't sell as well as they used to. The formula is falling apart. And I don't know that going to Tencent, maybe it will hasten the inevitable, but Ubisoft needs something or it's going away anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think you make a great point about like their whole thing is faltering because they're still doing the same thing. Ubisoft started with Splinter Cell, and that was stealth. All these games, you have the same property. It's stealth. And I'm sorry, that stealth works in certain situations and whatnot, but if the entire game is based around being stealth, you have to be stealth and all that. No. If it's a pick and choose type thing, then that's fine. I know in Ghost of Tsushima has that where you need to be stealthy to infiltrate a camp, or you can go in balls to the wall and just take on everybody. You can do that, but most of their games, it's like it requires you to be stealthy.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima is not Ubisoft anyway.
I know that. I'm just saying.
No, but he's
just using that as an example.
An example.
Okay. Excuse
How you
me.
can do it better, I guess. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Know it all.
Rap Sheet says Ubisoft should never have said get used to not owning your games because now they have to get used to not owning their company.
Ooh, burn!
It's a deep burn. It's a deep burn.
Oh, bird's so good.
That's a great line. Well done, Rex.
All right, next up, a damning new report published by short-selling firm Hindenburg Research claims that Roblox inflates players.
It's fine.
You're okay. You can pause there because we all did. And
It's fine.
Oh, the humanity. Claims that Roblox inflates player numbers to investors by as much as 42%. More damning still, the report dubs Roblox an X-rated pedophile hellscape and includes documented examples of Roblox games with titles such as Escape to Epstein Island and Run from Diddy Simulator, among other graphic adult content aimed at under 13 users. We firmly believe that Roblox is a safe and secure platform, a Roblox spokesperson said in a response, calling the report simply misleading. Roblox's share price tumbled 4.6% in the wake of Hindenburg Research's report being published, and it's worth acknowledging that short-selling firms clearly stand to benefit from such a report. However, Roblox itself cited 13,316 instances of child exploitation on its platform in 2023, and that more than 24 people have been arrested for abusing minors following contact in the game. And let me just read that again. Roblox itself cited 13,316 instances of child exploitation on its platform.
yeah,
This is one of the main reasons why we have never been big fans of letting our kids play Roblox.
in fact, my sister-in-law, I was recently having a discussion with her, and her son was saying he wanted to play Roblox and my nephew. And I was like, you need to be careful about that. That place is, it's the Wild West, essentially. And how is it that a game exists past 2023? If I think what you were saying, Donnie, 13,000 examples of this.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting, too. I mean, not like this whole thing is terrible, but it also points out that the number of investors, they've inflated by as much as 42%. Wasn't the CEO of Roblox recently saying that he wanted like 1 billion online users, daily online users?
Right. And I don't remember. What was it that they said they already have? Was it?
It's like 79 million.
Yeah, 79 million. So 79 million daily active users, multiply that by 365. I don't know how many billion users that gives you over the course of a year. Of those however many billion, I think kind of the justification for Roblox so far has been, well, out of all those billions of people who visit every day, only 13,000 instances of child abuse.
Yeah.
Okay. Your odds are really, really good. I think when we talked about it the first time on the show, maybe a year or so ago, we called it's the allowable parts per million of pedophiles in your game. Right. To where you consider it safe enough for the public.
Disgusting.
Like it says, it's worth pointing out that the company that did this report probably very much was looking for a company to take down and saw Roblox as a great target and just went in and dug exactly for what it was looking for. Now, assuming that these things actually exist, Escape to Epstein Island and Run from Diddy Simulator, plus a lot worse stuff that was talked about in the article that I wasn't comfortable with putting on the show.
Got it.
Assuming that's all true, I guess what kind of blows my mind is that's the kind of stuff that it seems like AI was meant for. Finding those kind of keywords and getting rid of them.
Yeah.
How is that stuff allowed to exist on this platform?
Yeah, 13,000 instances, that's way too much. One instance is way too much. I mean, I wouldn't say shutting down the entire platform for one instance, maybe not even 5, but we have 13,000. That's just like saying only 2 people out of the 25 people that use this back alley at night get brutally whatever. But hey, we're still going to keep it open. No, you shut it down.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess money talks, and maybe it's not as much money as you've been led to believe when Roblox apparently inflates its player count by as much as 42%, apparently according to people who used to work for the company, and saying that a lot of them are duplicate accounts, a lot of them are farming bots and that kind of stuff. I have a tough time believing 42% are farming bots, but you know, the point being is that maybe there's a lot of shady stuff going on at Roblox, and when the money stops talking, eventually, they may end up having a lot to answer for.
And I think we'll be likely talking about that.
And for examples, we'll just refer back to Mr. Epstein and Mr. Diddy of what happens when the money stops talking.
There it is.
And you have to answer
die
for what you've done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or you just make incriminating tapes of people and hold that for ransom. Anyway, next up, Universal and Sega announced Tuesday.
Best segue ever.
Universal and Sega announced Tuesday that they're developing a film adaptation of the hack and slash video game Shinobi. Sam Hargrave. Yeah, what's hack and slack?
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
I would like the hack and slack, please. Sam Hargrave, a stuntman and filmmaker best known for directing the Chris Hemsworth starring Netflix movie Extraction, is on board to direct. Ken Kobayashi, the screenwriter behind Sunny and Move On, will pen the script. Plot details haven't been confirmed, but Shinobi follows protagonist Joe Musashi as a modern-day ninja who confronts evil. It debuted in 1987 as an arcade game and has evolved into a franchise that spans 14 sequels, with over 5 million copies sold to date.
I love this. Shinobi's a great game. When we're talking about Shogun recently came out. Fantastic movie, or not movie,
great
but show.
Series.
Right, and that series, I think, may have reignited people's desire to see interesting stories from feudal Japan. I mean, Shinobi's not exactly set in that time frame, but it's the guy's a ninja, right? And it's a little. I think because of the way the games are set up, It also allows for a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of whimsy too. So you don't have to follow strictly the history of stuff. You can make it as fun or as interesting or as wild as you want to. I think Shinobi 2 has been one of those franchises that has been often overlooked from Sega. And I think, particularly Shinobi 3, I think is probably one of the best games on the entire console. So having them, get some credit for that, I think is great. But the only issue I have with it right now is that who has ever played Shinobi? I mean, that's probably
who is this geared towards? Who is this geared towards?
Right, exactly. Is this a nostalgia grab for people who play the games, or is this utilizing game characters to expose people to this world of Ninja? That's I guess if you're going to go the two different routes, right? I would recommend that they probably don't make it terribly close to the game.
Right. And I think it's going to hit both groups, right? Because it's a modern day, he's a modern day ninja. They can do so much more with it than just setting it into a feudal Japan setting or what have you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Seven Castle Forest says it's geared towards people who like ninjas on jet-powered surfboards fighting mech robots with rad music. See, there you go. Target audience.
I think that's everyone.
It's like Turtles in Time.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, what I hope from this movie is that it's actually set in 1987.
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be badass. Yes.
Yep. But I do think that they're going to try to Sonic the Hedgehog this and get a long-running IP with potential for lots of sequels, because this has, like, the game itself had 14 sequels. There's a lot of potential here. Mm-hmm. Even if there's not a lot of lore necessarily to pull from, I guarantee they're going to try to make this appeal to as wide of an audience as possible by including jet-powered surfboards and mech robots.
And Chris Pratt playing the lead character.
Why? Why would you do that?
Sure about that.
Because I like watching you grimace every time I suggest that.
So, Sega is now 2 movies. Okay, Shinobi comes out and it's a hit. Does that mean Sega is successfully, like, they're backing in a bad way? And bad meaning good. Because you got so many games in your library on the Master System, on the Genesis, that you could effectively make a movie out of. And we talked about this. We could do Golden Axe. You could do something with Shadowrun if you wanted to.
Eternal Champions.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Eternal Champions.
So you're right. No, really? Sega has finally made the long-awaited comeback that you have been predicting for years, but not as a games company.
It's not in a games company.
As a movie production company.
You're right, Satisfaction. I will never lose hope in Sega coming back. I mean, I know how bad they dorked up the whole console business in the 90s. So that is just like we're just going to let that go because we're moving away from consoles. But if Sega can continue to give me very good games and movies, or even television series, make a Streets of Rage television series, for God's sake. I would love that. Something like that.
That would be killer.
Like
what was that verb you used there? Dorked up their consoles?
Yeah, dorked, doinked,
nope, I'm
boinked,
just
whatever.
checking.
I love passive aggressive Blue.
I just wanted to double check.
Well, you wanted to double check the dork.
Yep.
Isn't that term is another term for never mind.
Yeah, dorked, doinked. Kind of.
No, I'm not going to go with what I was going to say.
Another term for an uncut topic. That's all.
Yeah, there we go. Another term for an uncut. Yes, I love it.
Do you say uncocked?
I said uncut.
I heard uncocked.
Don't rewind and play back the video. Another term for an uncocked.
Seven Castle Force says Shenmue movie full of interactions just as hallucinatory and bizarre as the game.
I would be down for that.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And Hybrid Divide says a Streets of Rage movie set in the 80s would totally work. You know what? Let's just make all the Sega movies and let's set them all in the 80s.
Let's do it.
I can accept that.
Yeah, I'm good for it.
Oh, and then you can make a Final Fight series, and then you could do like Final Fight versus Streets of Rage, right?
Like the mashup?
Yeah, like Freddy versus Jason. Everybody loved that movie.
Yes, that was a badass movie. All right, next up, Nintendo announced some new hardware today. And no, it's not the Switch 2. Today, the company introduced Alarmo, an interactive alarm clock designed to add some Nintendo charm to your home and your daily routine. Due out early 2025, Alarmo was priced at $99.99, with Nintendo Switch Online members in the US and Canada able to buy it right now via the My Nintendo store. Alarmo features motion sensor technology that responds to your movements, letting you snooze your alarm with motion alone and stop it by getting out of bed. You can pick from 35 scenes inspired by 5 Nintendo titles: Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, and Ring Fit Adventure. Then set a time and let Alarmo do its work. Nintendo will update Alarmo with scenes from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Animal Crossing New Horizons for free when they become available. I'm sorry.
The best part about this is exactly what you're thinking. I was reading up on this, and the clock, apparently it has to be facing like exactly where you're going to be laying, or it won't work. It has to be no more than 8 inches above the level of the bed, or it won't work. And every time you roll over, it makes a little coin sound.
Oh my God,
so you
no.
can just imagine it going ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
During what, Blue? What would happen? What would prompt it to go ka-ching, ka-ching?
You know, just hypothetically.
So what I'm going to say is that the marketing for this, what we saw today with the video of, early 20-somethings purchasing this and using it on a daily basis, is not really who they're targeting for this. Let's be honest.
No.
Right? This is for younger kids that would get a total kick out of their alarm clock making sounds to their favorite Nintendo games. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great, but why not have kids in the video, I guess? If I'll be honest with you. If this was mine and I owned it, after about a day, that thing would get chucked across the room.
Right.
I'm moving back and forth, and it's like, hey, you should be getting up right now.
Right. And that's the thing is, if you stay in bed too long after your alarm goes off, Bowser comes and yells at you.
That would be fine.
There's some cute ideas, but it's still $100 for a fucking alarm clock that spies on you.
And you have to pay for a subscription service, right?
Yeah, you got to be Nintendo Online. That's right.
I tried to look that up and confirm it, and
only for the purchase for the pre-order right now.
Right. Only to buy it, you have to be subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online. It doesn't say you need the subscription for it to work.
Right. Satisfaction says they'll be monitoring it if we dream about pirating a new Nintendo game, and it'll unlock a new Ace Attorney sound.
I like that.
All I'm imagining, though, is Bowser comes out there and he's like, you're supposed to wake up. And I'm picking it up and going, you, Bowser, and throwing it across the room.
Yeah, but it's broken in a million pieces, but he's like, you still need to get up.
I think I'd be so mad I couldn't go back to sleep at that point. So it worked.
Then it worked,
It clearly works, yeah. They send you a replacement every time that happens.
No, they wouldn't. They want their money. I don't hate the idea. Yeah. I hate the $99 price tag. I hate that if there is a subscription service to it. If it was $30 and you had your entire 8-bit, maybe even 16-bit library of chiptunes and stuff like that, and set to random. So one morning your alarm goes off, you could be waking up to the theme song to Castlevania. The next day you wake up, you could be waking up to the theme song for RC Pro-Am or what have you, or Legend of Kage.
If you don't wake up, it starts playing the knockback sound from Castlevania.
Oh!
Yeah. Every time you roll over, it plays the knockback sound, and you're like, oh, God, stop. The gimmick of this thing is the motion controlling. But if all you want is like Nintendo music to wake up to, surely there's an app for that where you could just set your phone to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. To buy $100 alarm clock, it's
yeah, whoever would buy it, that's crazy.
It's crazy. Why are you looking around,
How
Ryan?
many did you pre-order, Ryan?
Just one.
You just want to put it on your shelf, though, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll do with it.
Sucker. That's actually, if there is a repository that you can have, or it's somewhere with all of the 8-bit soundtracks, I would totally down that and try to upload that to my phone and have that as my alarm sound every morning. Mm-hmm. I would do that.
Or just if I could wake up to Donnie going, and then the fish went right on my nipple.
You can. You have that sound clip. You've got the sound. You've access to the master recording.
That is true. I do. And you know what? I now have a goal for what I'm doing after the show.
Well, Ryan, when you get your $100 Alarmo alarm clock, which Alarmo to me sounds like it should be the name for some sort of digestive medication after you've eaten something spicy. You know what I mean? That's what the name feels like to me. But when you get your Alarmo and set it up, let us know how many coin sounds per minute it takes before it explodes.
Okay.
Alarmo from Blammo. And last up, John St. John is on TikTok, and he'll apparently say whatever filth you want in the Duke Nukem voice. For the last few days at JSJ. Is that an I in there?
JSJ is Duke.
JSJ is, I'm like, JS Duke? What?
That works too. We don't really know. We don't really know what it is.
Right. We can assume his intent, but it's probably safer not to.
At JSJ is Duke on TikTok has been using the classic Duke voice to read out any line a commenter asks for. Sort of like a free and chaotic version of Cameo. This guy eats corn the long way. I'm straight jorking it. Or when the boss makes $1 million, I make $1. That's why I crank my hog in the company truck. Are just a few examples of the colorful clips now gracing St. John's account. He also owns a Duke Nukem puppet called the Duppet, which he uses to voice even more one-liners. This might seem like the kind of thing a person does when they have too much time on their hands, but St. John is actually still busy in the world of games. In the last few years, he has appeared in Ion Fury, the This Is the Police series, and Postal 4.
God bless John St. John for doing this.
For free, too. That's crazy.
Right. He's keeping all of us nerd fanboys happy.
Exactly. And you know what? Somebody could probably do this utilizing AI, right? Type in whatever you want. You get it, make it sound like John St. John, but he's just doing it and just having fun. Nobody says I'm straight jorking it and not having fun. Let's be honest. Right.
I'm straight jorking it.
So like kudos to him for utilizing his talents for just something to provide people with a little bit of joy. And yes, I'm absolutely going to send him a message for like 80 different things I want him to say and see if he picks one. And then I will report back and I'll be like, that was mine. I did
Have him say, this fish was right on my nipple. Like,
yes.
And then this fish went right on my nipple.
And we will totally put it in the show. If
oh my God. Yeah. That'll be the opening for every show.
There are, whenever we were doing the whole poll thing, the very important poll every episode, there was a site that I was using that actually had pretty damn good AI voice generation. So that's definitely something as all you need is a little voice clip of his to upload that. And you've got a world of clips that you can use at your disposal. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that is an avenue that you could explore.
But it's so much more fun when you can see, because it's on TikTok, so you can actually see him doing it.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Which is the reason that this works. Because otherwise, you're right. Let's just get an AI voice and hey, here's Duke Nukem saying whatever, and it's lame. But it's actually him doing it.
But if John St. John is on TikTok telling me that I look so much better than Ryan, I'll take it. I will take it.
You know, I don't think he does lies. I think he's got a strong code of ethics.
$20 is $20, man.
I think you should have him say that Blue is the podcast daddy.
No,
I don't.
No, that's not going to work for me.
Nope.
No,
look
maybe
at us coming together, Ryan.
I think we outvote you 2 out of 3.
I saw your face when I said that.
I didn't say anything. Maybe I'll just go on TikTok and see what John St. John thinks.
He ain't gonna pick yours. He doesn't think it's funny enough.
All right. Well, now it's time to take a look at our top 3 new releases for the week.
First up is Metaphor ReFantazio for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, not PS5 twice, right? PS4 and PC. From the creative minds behind Persona 3, 4, and 5 comes Metaphor ReFantazio, a unique fantasy world where awakening to an archetype lets you unlock the power to channel and combine abilities of unique job classes, strengthen your bonds, and build your party to take down powerful foes and discover the kingdom's true nature. Next up is Starship Troopers Extermination, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Starship Troopers Extermination is a 16-player co-op first-person shooter that puts you in the far-off front lines of an all-out battle against the bugs. Squad up and grab your rifle and do your part as an elite deep space vanguard trooper. And Silent Hill 2 Remake, PS5, PC. Experience a masterclass in psychological horror, lauded as the best in the series and the latest hardware with chilling visuals and visual sounds. Confront the monsters, solve puzzles, and search for traces of your wife in this remake of Silent Hill 2. So, taking a look at this, Blue, what are you in for this week?
So, Metaphor, Tasio, whatever, is getting absolutely incredible reviews, like tens everywhere that I've seen it. So scores like that make you stop and pay attention, even if this is a genre that I don't normally go for. I'm not really a Persona person. And Metaphor ReFantazio just looks like more Persona from a slightly different viewpoint.
Sure.
However, tens and tens and tens, I mean, that's a game I'm going to be keeping my eye on and watch some gameplay, and maybe I would really like it. Maybe it would. I don't know if it still has the parts of Persona that I've not been into, like the let's go to school, let's have conversations and build relationships. Like that. That's the kind of stuff that has kept me from playing Persona. So if that is not in this one, then I will definitely be looking into Metaphor ReFantazio.
Nice.
So moving on to Starship Troopers Extermination, 16-player co-op FPS, all my favorite words. No, thank you. Though good luck to this one going head-to-head with Helldivers 2. I think it's going to lose badly.
Right.
And then that brings us to Silent Hill 2 Remake, which again, the early review scores for this are really, really good. Not 10s across the boards, but still 8s and 9s. So this was a game that I was going to hold off from and wait to see how people liked it. But so far, aside from like petty fanboyism bitching online, it seems to be a really, really good remake. And I watched just a tiny bit of gameplay just to get the flavor of it. And I have already ordered it. So it's not here yet, but I'm really looking forward to playing this one. So this week, Silent Hill 2 Remake.
Nice. Donnie, what about you?
So I've never played a Persona game. I'm assuming it's RPG-esque or whatever. Okay. So I took a look at the trailer for Metaphor ReFantazio. And when I noticed it was an RPG game, I was like, that's RPGs have not been my thing for a while. They used to be, but they're not anymore. Then I saw, like, I guess the cutscenes, and it looks like it's anime, like Japanime in there. And it made me think of the games, the RPG games that you could play on the Sega CD, like Lunar or Vey or Time Gal and everything. And I'm like, man, this looks like I love that. I love that throwback to those kind of cutscenes. And I think based on that, this game might be worthy of me picking up and at least giving it a shot. Is it a day one buy for me? No, absolutely not. I will try to play this at some point, but it's not my cup of tea, but it looks good. Starship Troopers Extermination, the question is why? Everybody loved Helldivers. And if you think like, well, when you look at Helldivers and you think Starship Troopers, why didn't they just make a Starship Troopers game? Okay, well, now they are making a Starship Troopers game. So this is your chance to go out and buy that and get involved in that world if you love it so much. I cannot stand just sitting there mindlessly shooting things, mowing it down. There's strategy to it and whatnot, but it brings me no joy, no pleasure whatsoever. Just the endless waves. That's why, like when Call of Duty Zombies, I can't do it. It's no fun for me. So Starship Troopers Extermination, I am going to pass on this one. Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 is a great horror game. Even it still holds up to this day. But when you talk about the graphics that are available now versus what was on the PS2, playing this game in the dark with the headphones on and just in complete and utter darkness in this type of resolution with 4K, 8K, whatever, I think this is going to make me pee my pants over and over again, and I'm looking forward to this. So, Silent Hill
Johnny's
2
favorite
remake.
thing.
It's my. It's so warm and inviting. Silent Hill 2 remake. That's my day one buy that I'm gonna that I'm gonna buy. Am I gonna pop it in and play it day one? Maybe, maybe not, but I'm gonna try.
What about you, Ryan?
So this is to me, this actually might be a triple yes. We've done a few triple no's, quite a few triple no's on this one. But I think this week, all three of these intrigue me. I was a big fan of Persona 3 and 4. They're great games. I haven't actually played 5, which is odd, but whatever. The only thing that I will say is that turns me off slightly with the games is kind of that anime aesthetic. I don't usually like that kind of thing, but the games themselves are good. But also that like high school thing. So it sounds like this is less of that, which is great. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's fantastic. Starship Troopers. I've been a fan of Starship Troopers for a while. Read the books and everything too, and I think this could be a fun one. I don't necessarily think of it as being like a game that's going to grab me and I'm going to be playing this nonstop for the next year and a half or two, but I definitely would be willing to give it a go, considering I've always wanted that experience of being able to be in that universe, right? Of Starship Troopers. And I know that I think there's been a few other Starship Trooper games, but this one seems to be the most promising for it. And it also sounds to me like they've stuck closer to the lore than the movie, which is also a good choice, I have to say. So definitely interested in checking that out. And I have never played Silent Hill 2. I've played the first one, never played number 2. And so it sounds like to me like this is the perfect opportunity for me to play Silent Hill 2, get scared, and for it to look awesome while I'm doing it.
On your new PS5.
On my new PS5 and all of these games.
Like it was meant to happen.
I can purchase on the PS5. So look at this. It's a good day, folks.
It's a good week to be a gamer.
I'm going to go broke.
It's a good week to be a gamer.
Yep.
Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. The podcast is taking another week off to get things ready for the Final Fantasy VII series. So this week's question is, what's the hardest game you've ever rolled credits on, and how long did it take you? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at A Gamer Looks at 40 on Twitter.
I'm going to say for myself, because I don't usually beat hard games, is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And that took me like 22 years from when I started playing it to when I finally beat Mike Tyson for the first time. So yeah. And now I'm fairly comfortable against Mike Tyson because I know the patterns. I know what to do. I think last year at PRGE, me and Donnie raced, and I forgot who won that one. Who won that race?
I don't know, because we both beat him. I think you were the first to beat him, and then I came in. And
I was
beat him again.
the first to beat him. Yeah.
That game. Now that you're saying it 30 years. It took me 30 years from when it came out in 1987 to like 2018, and I remember that was back when I first met all you guys, and we started doing some of the smaller, the RGB high scores and stuff like that. And I remember specifically, like the day I beat it. Like I couldn't freaking believe it. I finally beat Mike Tyson, and then subsequently I did it several times later, and now it's like something I can do with ease. So that's a very good game to bring up.
Ducks in Disguise says Cuphead, and I don't want to talk about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm riding on other people's coattails. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out took 30 plus years. Cuphead took, oh my God, it's such a long time. I remember Blue the first time she stopped in my stream while I was playing Cuphead, and just how long it took me to complete that junkyard level. It takes your attention away from the main part of the game And like you think you're so focused, but then all of a sudden these little things like start flying in out of the area. Lightning Force, Thunder Force 4, Lightning Force is a prime example of that as well. And that's another difficult game that I rolled credits on.
Great game.
Seven Castle Forest says, my brother and I beat GoldenEye's crazy Aztec level in 0-0 difficulty, which took us weeks. Absolute nonsense. 100 times worse than Demon Souls. One Up John says, I can't get past Soda Popinski, but I beat Cuphead.
Goals, right?
Right. So my answer, like I went back and forth. It would either be Elden Ring, which I got the platinum in 150 hours. Or would it be Hollow Knight, which the first time I actually beat it, I think took like 58 hours. But the difference, I'm going to say between those two, Hollow Knight is the more difficult because I have been chasing the platinum for Hollow Knight ever since and still don't have it.
Oh, no.
You don't have it either. Shut up. So you beat the fifth Pantheon, bitch, and then you can take that tone.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, thank you for coming, students. Please take your seat. Welcome back to Professor Rybread's Spoopy Gaming 101.
Spoopy Gaming History 101?
No, not gaming history, just gaming.
Oh.
As many of you know, Halloween is fast approaching. The air is getting cooler, the days are getting shorter, and you have this strange desire to engage in the occult all month long. Or perhaps it's just me. But many people watch horror flicks during this time of year, and so I'm thinking to myself, what retro video games would I play at this spoopy time of year? So these are my top 5 NES games to play this holiday season. Or Halloween, not holiday. It's a holiday too. Halloween season. Holiday! So as, remind listeners every time we do a top 5, this is my list, so no need to get angry if your favorite game was not included. In fact, on this Friday's weekly announcement on Twitter, comment what your top 5 spoopy retro games to play during Halloween. They don't even have to strictly be on the NES. So that's my challenge to you. And before we get started into the actual list, let's do some quick house cleanings before we start. So all these games will be on the NES or the Famicom. I'm making recommendations that I think will be mostly family friendly after all, though, they are intended to elicit a fear response. So let's call them PG rated. And these games are in no particular order, mostly because I couldn't decide where to put them in the list. So I got lazy and decided not to give them a ranking. So there you go. So now that we got that covered, as Gomez Adam once said, showtime. Showtime! Starting off with number 1, Castlevania 1 on the NES. So I personally have a lot of love for this game. And for the uninitiated, you play as Simon Belmont, vampire killer. Your job is to traverse the castle of Dracula himself and dispatch his henchmen with the aid of a trusty whip, Devo. God, RGB's list is already the worst. All right. So what makes this game so fitting for Halloween season is that it's dark, it's foreboding atmosphere, and there are jump scares. Bad guys are based on the classic horror themes, and a lot of the occult imagery is there to ensnare the senses. However, the single best addition to the spoopy factor for this game is the killer soundtrack, full of some of the most rockin' tunes the puny NES sound chip could pump out. And if you haven't played the original Castlevania before, I highly recommend giving it a try. If you're in for a challenging experience that you want to come back to for more. Plus, if you turn off the lights, play at night, you will truly experience the game as it was intended. Number 2, Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti on the Nintendo Famicom. So unreleased in the West, one of the first Splatterhouse games to hit the consoles market in 1989 was developed by Namco for the Nintendo Famicom in Japan. Being that it was on the Famicom, you can probably guess that this game doesn't have much blood, gore, or body horror elements that this series is most well known for today. So Wanpaku Graffiti stands alone in the series as being kind of the most family-friendly version of the games, but it's still wonderfully quirky and deserves your attention. Just like most Splatterhouse games, you control a Jason mask-wearing character by the name of Rick, and in this game, it appears to be wielding a axe or a hatchet of some kind to dispatch the monsters, zombies, and other horror-themed creatures. What really makes this game shine is its charm. From the chibi look of the characters to the humor of the game, which includes a boss fight where you engage in a Michael Jackson thriller-esque dance-off. And the soundtrack itself is a mixture between fun and spoopy. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend finding a ROM or a repro and giving it a whirl. Number 3, Sweet Home for the Nintendo Famicom. You ever wanted to play an RPG that will potentially leave you feeling as though you're headed for impending doom? Then I have the game for you. Sweet Home was released on the Famicom and was based on a horror movie that was released around the same time. And the story is that you're a group of paranormal investigators there to take photos of fresco paintings in a haunted mansion. And the soundtrack for the game sets the tone early and continues throughout the entire adventure as you attempt to solve the mystery of the mansion while using your wits and tools to overcome attackers. While a fantastically spoopy game, this one I would not recommend for RPG beginners. It's arguably considered to be one of the hardest games on the system, and you may never overcome that feeling of dread. So GameFAQ walkthroughs are highly recommended for this one. Number 4, Shadowgate for the NES. Now, many of you might be saying, but Maniac Mansion is better and they're basically the same. Remember whose list this is, right? And so shut up. This is mine. So it's perfect for Halloween because it's a classic gothic horror adventure. It immerses you as a player in a dark, kind of eerie-filled castle with deathly traps, puzzles, and ominous atmosphere. The game's haunting soundtrack, spooky visuals, and tense gameplay create a suspenseful experience. And as players must navigate the castle to avoid pretty gruesome deaths. So this is where that PG thing comes into play. Parental guidance is suggested. Its chilling tone, mysterious setting, and constant sense of dread make it a good choice for nostalgic, creepy gaming during the spooky season. And finally, number 5, Ghosts and Goblins for the NES. And I know many of you just groaned because it's one of the hardest games that you would love to forget. And to that, I got to say, good rub. I've never beaten it either.
Neither have I. I don't think I've ever came close.
I've beaten Satan before, but I haven't actually gotten like the really good ending. So
Hybrid Divide says, good list, but F that game.
So Ghosts and Goblins is an excellent choice for Halloween due to its challenging gameplay and iconic horror themes. And it takes place as you take the role of Sir Arthur, who must battle through hordes of zombies, demons, and other supernatural foes to rescue the kidnapped princess Prin Prin. That's right. That's her name. Prin Prin. And, this game is nice because it features the creepy atmosphere, right? It sets kind of the spooky environment. It's got a really catchy music that will likely stick in your head. And you know what the worst part about that is, because it's so hard, it's going to stick in your head and then it's going to bother you and frustrate you even more. So keep that in mind. Game responsibly. And so, I think it's a great choice for Halloween, and it's a great way for you to test your skills for this pretty notoriously difficult game. So Ghosts and Goblins, the NES. If you haven't tried it too, feel free. And then
curse Ryan's name.
Right.
Forever.
So to wrap things up, I hope you enjoyed my top 5 or my list of top 5 NES games to play during the Halloween season. And just a reminder, on the tweet that we send out this Friday, feel free to comment on what your top 5 games are to play during the holiday season or Halloween. I did it again. Halloween season.
Again. Those H words, so difficult.
Thank you for attending today's Spoopy Gaming 101. And just a reminder, if you have ideas for a story or topic you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com and we might feature your suggestion.
Now, Hybrid Divide brings up a great point. Beyond Shadowgate was just released on Steam.
It was, you're right.
And it's getting a lot of good reviews. I'm eager to see the gameplay on that one. The older games like Shadowgate, Deja Vu, they're great to play, but sometimes it's like it doesn't make sense on what you need to click on to combine this and do this. It's got like that weird eclectic. I wrote this game and it's my mind and my world, and these guys are never gonna know what to do. It's just like trying to do all those things like for hours and combining this thing and using this thing on that, using this thing on that. That's a little bit like cumbersome. So I hope they cleared that up in past Shadowgate or beyond Shadowgate.
Mm-hmm. Agent Nil says, loved Beyond Shadowgate. So there you go. Thumbs up recommendation right here in the chat.
There it is.
I think we'll get that. Now, for me, my games that I love to play are like Visage, Madison, the Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, which I haven't played yet. But when I played the Resident Evil 2 remake on stream, and when I saw the liquor for the first time and it came down and started chasing me, like I started shaking, like there was something exactly like there was something actually behind me chasing me. And it just gave me that sudden wave of fear all over. There really hasn't been an NES game or a Super NES game that's done that. Now, PlayStation, the original PlayStation has done well with like Clock Tower and stuff like that. But I think some of these newer games with the graphics, that's why I'm looking forward to Silent Hill 2. I think that might be a definitive spoopy season gameplay.
Blue, do you have any games that you particularly play during the spoops?
During the spoops?
Mm-hmm.
No, I would say I tend more towards movies during the spoops.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're kind of like a horror buff anyway.
But like I said earlier, I'm super looking forward to Silent Hill 2. I think that's going to be my spoops this year.
Nice.
Hashtag
Very
spoops.
Nice.
The spoops are what I get after eating dairy.
Still terrifying.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening to episode 136 of Gamers Week Podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 Podcast, and Pixel Pond Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/GamersWeekPodcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com. Or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
So do you guys have your Halloween costumes picked out? I assume Donnie will be going as naughty Jason Voorhees with like the mask and then some sort of lingerie thing. Maybe some kitty ears over the mask.
My wife has told me that if I ever wore her lingerie, that it would be over. So I
buy your own. It's 2024.
She's got a point.
Do men have lingerie?
Mm-hmm.
To the internet.
On that note,
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Butter?
Right? Said jelly and syrup, and she's like, butter?
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
I have to admit, I have not tried that.
Now,
You can't judge. You can't judge.
So does it have to be real butter or could it be margarine?
The spray. Can't believe it's not butter spray.
Can't believe it's not butter spray.
you can't pour hot butter down there.
Well, then if you're going to go that route, get like the movie butter popcorn spray that you can get, right? Like the really good stuff. Come on.
You know what? And then as long as you're doing butter, why not do like cheese powder or something?
No.
You get the flaming hot cheese butter.
That's a bad night for everybody.
Depends on what you're into.
Sorry, babe. I didn't know you were going to feel that.
Got somebody who just has all the Kraft mac and cheese, like cheese powder things.
The return to innocence. That's what she's going to be saying the entire time you're down there.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, patrons with benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VDSTDs things, right? Make it fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
that was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.